People everywhere are starting to listen to him. He's going on French, British, Italian, Japanese television.
This is the wide world of Weingarten.
Welcome back to the 9th episode of the Wide World of Weingarten. It is Wednesday, October 20th, and I'm here to talk to you about baseball, the NFL, college football, some golf this weekend. So let's run through everything we got today. The Red Sox lost last night 9-2. It was a close game until the 9th inning. The series is tied 2-2 again now. The Red Sox money line today at minus 127 or less is a play for me. I'd also consider the Red Sox series price at plus 115. I've already bet the Red Sox series price twice, so I'm in on that already. The Dodgers came back and won Game 3. They're now down 2-1. Cody Bellinger essentially saved the Dodgers season with one swing last night. Being down 3-0 probably would have been about the end of things for the Dodgers. Only one team has come back from a 3-0 deficit. It was the Red Sox that one year. I would not expect the Dodgers to come back from down 3-0 this year. Down 2-1 is a much better proposition. Game 4 is tonight, and the Dodgers are currently minus 220 with no listed pitchers, but Julio Urias is expected to start for the Dodgers. I wouldn't necessarily lay minus 220 there, but if you have a series price at minus 110 or less, I think that's a good bet. I would have no problem rebetting the series price here. In fact, I already did it. I think minus 110 is a little short for the Dodgers with the momentum. Although I don't really subscribe to momentum very much. You just have to really think that after yesterday, the Dodgers are in a decent position to even the series today. If you have a first inning yes score price minus 105 or better on the Dodgers Braves today, I would probably play that. But without listed pitchers, it's hard to really dive into those markets and see what the prices are like. Onto the NFL, Baker Mayfield's out on Thursday night with a labrum injury. With the injury situation mounting for the Browns, it might look like a Hall of Fame game out there on Thursday night for the Browns. A Broncos win would be nice for getting some of the Broncos futures I bet back on track, but I'm not looking to bet much more on this game on Thursday. As far as weekend games go, there's one Wong teaser that I've observed so far. It's Packers minus 2, Dolphins plus 8.5. That would be an acceptable Wong at minus 110. As far as straight bets go, I like the Titans plus 5.5 coming off their win on Monday night. I think getting 5.5 points versus Kansas City is an interesting spot. I don't like the Rams at minus 14.5 points. They're one of three teams that are double-digit favorites this week. I wouldn't consider laying 14.5, but I would consider playing a Lions team total under, or some Jared Goff under props, under yards, under touchdowns, under completions, etc. I don't think Goff is going to have a very good game this weekend, especially against Sean McVay, the only coach he's ever won a professional game with. I think, considering McVay knows him inside and out, he's probably going to be able to shut him down pretty easily. I don't expect much out of the Lions again this weekend, and as I've said, practically every week so far, either on this show or on VSiN, the next time Jared Goff wins a game in his professional career, it will be the first time that he's won a game without Sean McVay as his head coach. I don't expect that to be this weekend. The most interesting game for me is Bengals-Ravens, with the MVP bets I have on Lamar Jackson and some defensive rookie of the year on Odafe Oweh. I'm interested in seeing how they play versus the Bengals, who are a potential playoff team. As weird as that sounds to say, I actually bet some Bengals to make the playoffs plus 200 this week, which is something I did not expect to be considering at this point in the season, but I am looking forward to watching that game. I think it'll be probably one of the more interesting games on what looks to be a slightly lackluster Sunday of NFL games this week. As far as awards and futures go, I talked about Derrick Henry earlier this week, and I don't think he's a good MVP bet, especially here at 25-1. His odds have already been cut. I try, when I give out MVP bets and player futures in general, I'm always trying to get ahead of the market moves. I'm trying to bet stuff before something happens, like for example, Lamar Jackson, I bet at 25-1. I wanted to get on that before he potentially won that game against the Colts and it dropped to 12-1. A lot of people are going to tell you to bet it at 12-1, but it's a good bet. It's not a bad bet at 12-1. It's a better bet when you get ahead of the moves, and I'm always trying to get ahead of these moves as opposed to coming here and telling you to bet Derrick Henry at 25-1, which is the worst price on the board all season. I'm not going to advocate that. I do think there are other bets out there. We'll get into that in a second, but essentially at this point in the season, we have a top 10 in the MVP. It's Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Brady, Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, Mahomes, Derrick Henry. Those are the 10 MVP candidates. I wouldn't expect it to change much going forward, although the order of guys will fluctuate. As far as the offensive player of the year market, I think the value on Henry is in the offensive player of the year market. He's 4-1 at DraftKings, 4-1 at BetMGM. Like I said yesterday, of the 48 winners of the offensive player of the year award, 28 of them were also named MVP. I'd much rather bet Henry at 4-1 for offensive player of the year, knowing that he's more likely to win that award than to win the MVP outright. He's not going to win the MVP without winning offensive player of the year. So if he does make an MVP case, I'm happy to win some 4-1, some 5-1, some 7.5-1 on Henry for the offensive player of the year. If you're still looking to get down more on Derrick Henry futures and don't want to bet the offensive player of the year, DraftKings has player futures. One of the markets is most rushing touchdowns. You could bet Derrick Henry minus 130. I think that's an incredibly short price considering he's at 10 touchdowns and the second place guys in the rushing field are at 5. With a 5 touchdown lead, obviously there's always going to be injury concerns, but my number, I'd make that probably closer to minus 250 as opposed to minus 130, and anytime I can get a discount like that to my own numbers, I'm probably going to bet it. So consider Derrick Henry minus 130 most rushing touchdowns an excellent play this week. When it comes to defensive player of the year, I've talked about it before, but I'd rather bet every other player at the top of the board than Myles Garrett plus 450, which isn't my way of saying that I don't think Myles Garrett's a good player, but I just don't know how you can seriously consider a guy for defensive player of the year on a defense that's given up over 80 points the last 2 weeks. It doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather bet Garrett at 4-1 to have the most sacks. At least he could win that without any regard to the individual or the performance of his defensive unit. Like I said, just the last 2 weeks, the Browns, their performance as a defense as a whole, does not make me think that Myles Garrett is deserving of being Defensive Player of the Year. I'd rather bet Aaron Donald. I'd rather bet T.J. Watt. I'd rather bet Trevon Diggs. Any of them are better uses of your money than Myles Garrett at 4.5-1 for Defensive Player of the Year. Now, on to golf this weekend. We have some early starts because there's stuff going on all over the world. We have the PGA Tour in Japan. The Zoso Championship tees off at 4:30 p.m. today. So it'd be nice to have some late night golf sweats to look at. As I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite events, mainly because I won a live bet on it 2 years ago on Tiger Woods, and I used that money to buy a rescue dog, a Chihuahua, who is now my dog. He's sitting right over there. You can't see him, but he's literally right there off camera, being quiet right now. It's all because I won a live bet, and he's been the greatest thing that's probably ever happened to me. So I really enjoy the Zoso, and I have fond memories of it. As far as bets go this week, I like Maverick McNeely again at 35-1. I'll probably sound like a broken record every week saying, oh, I like Maverick McNeely. I kind of bet him blindly. One of these days he's finally going to win. I see Chris has a little bit of a slightly lower number at like 28-1. So again, it looks like a little bit of money came in on him there. The other bet I like is KH Lee at 50-1. These are both guys I bet last week that played all right in Las Vegas, and they're flying over to Japan. I'm just taking 2 shots there. That's all I got. anything I like live, I'll jump in. I'll probably tweet it out if I bet anything good. We'll see what happens there. Hopefully get a winner this weekend. I passed on the Euro Tour. I went through it. I read a whole bunch of stuff. Looked at the course. Tees off tonight from Mallorca at 11:45 Pacific. I just didn't see anything at good odds. I looked at Ryan Fox. 20-1 is too short. Wilco Nienaber. He's South African. I might be getting that name slightly wrong. He's a very long hitter with his driver. I think he's a good fit for this course, but 30-1 wasn't really getting my attention. Matty Schmid, he's interesting at 35-1. I was betting him at some events over the summer. He was the low amateur at the British Open. But I don't love backing a guy at like 35-1 after I've been betting him at 100-1 all summer. I will have my eye on him. If something happens, I could always jump in live. Same situation with Alex Bjork. He's 20-1. I've seen 20-1, 25-1, and I just can't pull the trigger at that low number after having him at 100-1 last week. So I'm just passing there more or less. We'll see what happens. Like I said, there's always live with golf, so you can always get in a lot more trouble betting stuff live. I've won and lost lots of money live betting golf. It'll probably continue winning and losing lots of money doing that. There's the Senior Tour this weekend. We haven't really talked about the Senior Tour much. They start their 3 weeks of playoffs with the Dominion Energy Charity Classic this weekend. I'm always surprised that more people don't bet on the Champions Tour. That's what they call the Senior Tour in golf. The fields are relatively competitive, well-known names. Usually you get like a Jim Furyk or a Phil Mickelson's been playing recently. Steve Stricker will be at the top of the odds board, and further down you get a Bernard Langer, KJ Choi, etc. There's notable names in the field every week, and the prize pool, it's $2 million prize pool. It's almost double what they're playing for on the European Tour this week. So when I contextualize stuff by prize pool, they're playing for over $9 million in Japan, $2 million on the Senior Tour, and 1 million euros on the European Tour. I tend to look at the events where they play for the most money. They're also playing for $2 million on the LPGA Tour this weekend in Korea. I just sat that event out because I just don't really want to bet women's golf this week. Sometimes you just want to take some events off. But the Champions Tour, $2 million prize pool, we will talk about that, especially with the playoffs the next 3 weeks. I like KJ Choi at 22-1. That's my only bet. Phil Mickelson is a plus 225 favorite, with Jim Furyk the only guy under 10-1 at plus 750. I think KJ Choi 22-1. He was a winner a couple weeks ago, is a decent bet, but I'm not dumping a ton of money into golf this week. I said McNeely, KH Lee, and KJ Choi. That's about really it for me in terms of golf. All relatively small bets. As far as college football goes, I had a very good week college football last week. I've had a pretty good season overall. I've been enjoying college football slightly more than NFL in terms of sides and totals. I bet Washington minus 17.5 on Friday night. I do not like the Arizona program or their head coach, Jed Fish. I think Jed Fish is probably one of the worst head coaches, and I don't understand why he continues to get jobs. I don't respect the offense he runs. I don't think he's a good recruiter. I'd be shocked if he's at Arizona, say, after next season. I could even see him getting fired after this season. 17.5, I think, is a good lay with Washington on Friday night. They should blow the doors off of Arizona. We'll see if this line goes any higher. The other game I looked at, Ole Miss versus LSU this weekend. I want to lay the 9.5 with Ole Miss, but I'm waiting for more injury news, see if Matt Corral's going to play. If he's not going to play, I'm not super excited about potentially laying 9.5, but I do think that LSU, even with last week's win, is a program that is trending down the rest of the season, especially with Ed Orgeron being a lame duck. I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Miss blows LSU out, that this is potentially Ed Orgeron's last game on the sidelines as LSU's coach. But at 9.5 with injury questions, I'm not super excited about laying that number on Wednesday. Talk to me on Friday. Maybe I'll be convinced to lay it. But so going through the bets today. Red Sox series price, a decent bet at plus 115 if you haven't bet it yet. Dodgers series price minus 110. First inning, yes, minus 105 in the Dodgers game if that's available. Packers -2, Dolphins +8. Wong teaser if you could bet it at minus 110. Like I said, it's a pass if it's minus 120. Do not play Wong teasers. You're not going to make money off them. Titans +5.5. I like that. Beyond that, going further down, I'm looking at my list. I said Maverick McNeely, KH Lee, 35-1, 50-1 in golf. KJ Choi, 22-1 on the senior tour. Washington -7.5. Friday night college football. That's what I got today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with more stuff to talk about. There's always more news, always more stuff going on, and we'll be back to talk about it tomorrow. Thanks for listening.